segment next, which is 𝗙𝗵𝗊 Charcha, the secret sauce for digital transformation. The cloud potential, as all of you know, has an ability to add 8% to our GDP. It's growing 4 times over the next 5 years, and the key contributing industries are financial services, communication, media and entertainment, and industrials like manufacturing, aviation, chemicals, and metals and mining. While this is a huge opportunity in front of us to bring an unprecedented change that we haven't seen in the past, there hasn't been a single month in the last 18 to 24 months where we haven't experienced, lived, or even feared the Great Reset. Given the macroeconomic situation is changing and the world economy is slowing down further into 2023, it's imperative now to find ways, creative ways to upskill and cross-skill our talent pool. With this background, I would like to invite our esteemed panel for today's panel discussion, the secret sauce for digital transformation. The panel is being moderated by Naveen B.A., who is our National Business Development Leader for Training and Certification, AWS. Welcome, Naveen. Next, we have Milind Pathak, who is the Chief Business Officer for 𝗏𝗏. Milind is an accomplished senior leader with 20 plus years of experience in the blue chip organization across domestic and international markets. Milind has held several key decision-making portfolios, especially in sales and marketing. Welcome, Milind. Next, I would like to welcome Vilas Shettigar, Senior Director, Product Engineering, NICE Actimize. Vilas leads the product engineering activities for anti-money laundering, enterprise fraud management, and data intelligence products at NICE, which is the industry leader by far in fighting financial crimes. Vilas has almost 3 decades of global experience in the financial services industry, working with product organizations like Fiserv, Finastra, and service organizations like Capgemini. Welcome, Vilas. Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Sonal Modi. She's a VP leading the Global Enterprise Tech Learning in MasterCard. She comes with 25 years of experience of techno-behavioral experience in the IT service industry, technology, and now the product industry. Facilitation is her passion, and customer centricity and innovation is what she thrives on. To her credit, she has multiple innovative projects in the capability development space at a global level. Welcome, Dr. Sonal. Next, I would like to welcome Bhawdish Mathur. He is a General Manager Engineering at John Deere, a subsidiary of John Deere and Company USA. Bhawdish has rich and varied experience of over 23 years working and managing various IT products using wide range of technologies. His current role is to lead a group which is responsible for cloud platform development, accelerating cloud adoption, and supporting developer-enabled tools at Deere. Welcome, Bhawdish. Next, I would like to welcome 𝗬𝗵𝗲 Tiwari. He is the Chief Digital and Innovation Officer at Forbes Marshall, Pune. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 provides several leadership roles for the continued development of an innovation, robust, and serene information technology environment throughout the industry. He has nearly 22 plus years of experience in the planning, development, delivery, and monitoring of technical solutions, and addresses the needs of his customers in support of their missions. Welcome, 𝗬𝗵𝗲. Over to you, Naveen.
Thank you for coming on a weekday and making yourself available. Thank you, everybody, as well, to make out your time. So we have a very beautiful blend of people representing capability development as well as technology leadership. So probably I'll start with something which might sound very obvious, but maybe I'll start with you, Sonal. Who, according to you, would be ideal stakeholders in an organization to accelerate people transformation to fuel digital transformation, if I were to take your perspective?
So, Naveen, it is going to be a combination of people over here. Firstly, the executive leadership. Secondly, the HR, and some, the earlier speakers rightly pointed out who should be this quorum, primarily a cohort of people who should be driving digital transformation. So one is definitely the executive leadership. Second one is the HR, L&D, talent, all inclusive together, because generally that's the umbrella that it carries. And most importantly, the technical experts that are already existing in the organization. And all of this actually thrives on the basis of what does your as-is talent look like, what do you envisage to do as you move forward, and how does this group of people come together and think about digital transformation strategy together.
great to know. Saurabh, maybe probably I'll extend this to you, coming from a tech lens. What's your perspective on the same question? Anything further you want to add?
So we come from the industry like more from a manufacturing business perspective. So our stakeholders are majorly, there are two major areas for any of the business manufacturing industry. One is how you can accelerate your ROI in terms of your revenues. Second thing, how you can accelerate your inventory, which is basically the role model of any of the business verticals. So these are the major two stakeholders. Looking onto those factors, we need to cater the need of the cloud journey for us on that.
Thank you, Saurabh. Vilas, I'll come to you now. There's this term which is becoming quite vogue in the industry, and it's called as digital dexterity, which in simple terms, if I were to put a definition, is the ability of an individual or a group of people to embrace and learn new tech. You've been in a very senior position in your organization, and I know for sure that you're driving some of these. I would like to hear your lens, how in, say, NICE, you look at embracing digital dexterity amongst employees. What's your take on that?
So for us, many of our products were very old. When I say old, more than 20 years. Naturally, there was no concept of cloud when it began, right? So, but about 6 years ago, we knew that this is the direction the industry is going, and we need to shift. And we started with the traditional way of lift and shift. We did some ad hoc trainings. I would call it ad hoc in the sense, we didn't necessarily go through a very structured manner. We decided, this is a strategy, this is the talent pool, this is what we're going to do, and it was a mix of training your internal folks, etc. Last 3 years, though, we have become a lot more structured in our talent building process and acquisition process too. So we started saying these are some of the gaps that we clearly see. This is what we need to do. There was somebody who asked about data center migration. What are the challenges you face? There's somebody who talked about product engineering challenges in terms of what kind of talent issues we face. So nothing unusual. We went through the same cycle. Very recently, we actually started working, and somebody asked a question about LNA, right? So we actually went through the exercise, and if you have not done it, I would very strongly encourage you to do that. What it did is every single individual who participated in this exercise, they were able to tell, okay, this is my current role, this is my desired role, this is what I bring to the table today, these are the gaps. And once each person, we were able to share back the list of trainings that they need to. All the digital trainings were easy. They could just go sign up. The instructor-led trainings, we are working very closely to figure out who needs to go in what order based on the business priorities. And this is really allowing us to go to that shift in orbit in terms of making sure our talent pool is rising up the chain. They're able to do that. But yeah, so those are some of the things we have done, and we identified what exact tools we needed. Also, from a business perspective, in my business, data is key. Actually, every business it is key because we do a lot of analytics work. At the end of the day, all my products do is they look at tons of data. They run some algorithms on them. It could be machine learning algorithms, it could be in-house algorithms, and it comes back with some information to take some actions on. So for us, we attacked it from multiple forces, from a data perspective, from AI/ML skills. Actually, all the 4 that was out there when it came to cloud skills needed, all of those 4 were very relevant to us.
No, and fantastic, great perspective. And Milind, coming to you, and just to summarize what Sonal spoke and Vilas spoke. So 2 takeaways. I think one is data is the key in terms of looking at skills gap right now. And secondly, I think I kind of really like the way Sonal spoke about also having emphasis on executive learning and executive, I would say, mind share as well. Looking at an industry where you come from, where I think every day is day one in that sense, right? Where you always have to innovate because the stack itself is changing. So how do you do learnings? How do you look at transformation of people? Because that's something which it's like always sharpening the saw on a continuous basis. So coming from an industry like yours, would you like to share some perspectives? What kind of steps you take internally to drive digital dexterity in your organization?
Sure. Sure. I think, Naveen, thanks. First, let me thank my friends in AWS to getting me around here. For the audience, the only reason I'm sitting here is because I am a native of Pune. Otherwise, these guys, I am not capable to work with this August gathering nor address this August gathering. I come more from the business mindset. And I think that's essentially the element of change that we brought in the organization. First, I hope we have time, and because this is critical from a transformation perspective, so I'm taking this time, right? So I'll give a quick snapshot of what we do. We are an organization which sends massive amount of communication to end consumers across various channels of communications. SMS, email, voice, WhatsApp, Viber, RCS, Google Message, Facebook Messenger, Apple Business Chats, and so on and so forth, right? So we use all potential, and if you go to Korea, we use a KakaoTalk. If you go to Russia, we use something else, and so on and so forth, right? When we do this, we touch PII data, which means mobile number or email address, right? So we are a very mission critical company for a lot of companies like banks, airline industry, and all of us have experienced receiving an SMS as an OTP and so on and so forth. So the first thing that we did across, and obviously we have a distributed architecture because we could be cloud native, we could be telco native on premise, we could be having our hardware in a Etisalat in Dubai, we could have an hardware in Vodafone in India, we could have a hardware on premise in our data center. Some operator would tell us, oh, you can't go on cloud. Some operator would say, you need to be natively within my data centers and so on and so forth, right? So we really handle a complex set of data and infrastructure within the whole ecosystem, right? So first thing that we did, and perhaps that's the reason why around here is, when I joined this organization 2 years back, so first thing that we did is, we got product, engineering, technology, marketing, all rolling under one executive sponsor for a new set of product that we are launching, right? So there was only one guy and one team which everybody rolled into, right? There was not, so you could have an engineering head who would have a dotted with a CTO, but fundamentally all of that rolled under one part, because then the business drove the objective of whether it is cost per use, whether it is scalability, whether it was cost optimization, whether it was launch of innovative at speed. All these parameters was put on the neck of one executive sponsor that ensured that everybody fell in place, right? So we drove digital dexterity at that, and it has been a 2-year journey. I joined this organization about, I would say, October 2000, and we are now almost towards end of 2000. About 5 months ago, if I'm not sure, we did our experience business acceleration program, where we got almost 20 of our developers and almost 18-20 people from AWS in one room, and actually did what ma'am suggested, lift and shift, and then also did a first ever, perhaps in our industry, modernization EBA, right? And that could only happen because we were able to align product, tech, engineering, marketing people, everybody under one common objective of an organization, right? That's how we drove digital dexterity.
No, that's great. And the segue of that is, in Amazon, we call it single-threaded ownership, actually, in that sense. So engineering, product development, prototyping, testing, and probably even rollout, all under the same single-threaded leader in that.
So in one area that we Mark Anderson very famously said, software it eat the world. In our domain, today people are saying cloud will deal jobs, right? So I think one area that we were very conscious, I'm a capitalist at heart and mind, but I'm socialist as love, because we're a unique country where we have a liftman and in Nariman Point whom we 10,000, and we have the most high-tech elevators ever there, but we still have a liftman who takes you up, right? So we have to be a socially responsible technology organization because we are 1.3 billion people. With that as a mindset, we took the fear out that we are putting technology to replace anybody, right? And I think that's the core. And we are a case study on Economic Times. We are a listed company. We have a case study with all the 7 house helps of Root Mobile being 𝗥𝗲𝗃, and there was an ET who did an article on them, amount of ESOPs that they made in our IPO, right? So it's not that just we did a lip service of saying we are a responsible company, but we also build that culture around that.
Great, thanks, Milind. Bhawdish, coming to you, I think just extending what Milind said, and probably for the sake of simplicity, I'll use the theme as a single-threaded ownership. Maybe share an example where you felt that some sound strategy around people transformation has to be designed, otherwise it will start impacting your digital transformation. And again, taking the segue of Milind, how did you create it, maybe a single-threaded ownership between you and other stakeholders to achieve the success which probably you have today? So looking forward to your thoughts on that.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, this was all executive-sponsored project. So within a manufacturing company like John Deere, which is probably always running on the legacy applications, old technologies. Our VP IT has taken a decision that let's form a strategy and transformation or IT foundry group, which actually transformed the entire IT setup in John Deere with the new technology, tech stack basically. So we had about 10 weeks of immersion, which we execute, and it has taken 2.5 years. So we are on the verge of completion of the whole transformation. So we say agile and technology transformation, and more on the digital side, right? So basically, we have technical coaches, which tells us, where you lag, what is your current state, where you wanted to go, what is the, the skill gap you have, and how you're going to build this skill gap, right? And then we partner with AWS, we partner with some other tools like Pluralsight or ECG, eCloud Guru, and we started using these tools to upskill ourselves for in the cloud area. So even all the leaders at John Deere, we've been asked to do the basic cloud certification so that you understand it. The philosophy is, if the leader or the group engineering manager or director doesn't understand the cloud and what it brings on the table and what advantage it brings, they cannot even talk and understand what the developer is talking, or the architect is talking. So this is how the whole organization was transformed from a legacy, old technology stack to the complete new technology stack. So today, our discussions are, like we always say in Deere, that the tech discussion starts with cloud and it ends with the cloud. So the cloud is in the center of every discussions which we do. So that's about our journey.
Thank you. Saurabh, I think just an extension of that, there have been some studies coming that still a lot of organizations are kind of struggling to probably map business problems to technical solutions. What's your experience around that? Do you see capability development one of the reasons for that? Very keen to hear your thoughts around this.
Sure. So you're absolutely correct. As Bhavish has also mentioned, like basically how we did in our organization, we have mapped our business vision with the tech visions on that. And basically once we have a business visions in terms of the strategical expectation from the reaching to the certain level, we are converting those business visions in our tech transformations, making a roadmap of individual resources, how to achieve, where are they on, what are the gaps, and how to mitigate those things in terms of learning development, either with any of the cloud partners. That's how the journey we have ported out, and we are already started more than, I think, 6 months now, and we have seen a drastic change in terms of learning, the awareness, the adoptions kind of phases on those phases, and that's how the journey goes ahead on those things.
Great. Vilas, coming to you, and you spoke about data, so an extension of that. The mental model on learning typically is it's more of a siloed or an interventional approach, right? Something is not working, let's get people skilled and hope it's a band-aid and things will not repeat in that sense, right? You spoke about data, so hence I'm asking this question. How do you ensure, what are the mechanisms you have today which make skilling very relevant to business? How do you stitch these together?
So from a planning perspective, we usually have a product strategy that we define for the next 2-3 years time frame, and then we have every 6 months we kind of harden on what we are definitely going to do in the next 12 months. Right? We call it as internally we call it as our hard commitment that we do. So once we know that, and part of it is not just the capabilities of the product from a feature perspective, but it is also the technology changes that's going to happen as part of this. So that allows us to plan out how we are going to upskill our people, who are the folks who needs to be upskilled on a certain technology. Because I think Ajit talked about it, that the timing of that upskilling is also important. They should be able to apply this knowledge on their job right away. So we have been reasonably successful in doing that, and that has really helped us doing it. Now, what also helps us is you not only train your internal folks, but every attrition is a problem. We see it as a problem. I actually see it as an opportunity for you to acquire the skills that you want for your future. And that's what we did. You really need to not try to replace a developer by a developer necessarily. If you need somebody who has the specific skills, you bring them on board at the same time. So having one or two experts along with the people who are eager to grow themselves, take themselves to that next level, we are able to do this faster. And we also have our internal HR modes of where we identify these is my top talent, this is my successful people, etc. And we are able to, shape the trainings accordingly and ensure that we are ready to be able to handle.
Understood. Bhawdish, probably coming to you on being a leader in tractor manufacturing worldwide, right? So you're coming from an industry which is actually predominantly, for the lack of a better word, we call it, say, brick and mortar in that sense, right? So with that background, it's how are you able to create motivation and excitement in people to embrace new technologies? Because as John Deere looks at the next stage of evolution, I think the big elephant in the room is change, as we all say, right? And how do we ensure that change is embraced and there is less inertia? Would love to hear your perspective there.
Right. So I think in the initial discussion we talked about technology stack of the organization actually pull the people and have the motivation to work on the project or the product which is assigned to. So we, since I just talked about the transformation from last 3 years, where we have all moved, all of our projects or products which we are working on, moved from the older technology to the new technology. So that is the biggest motivation for people to actually continue to work in John Deere. At the same time, the training and development support which John Deere provides to the employees is a motivation today. We have, we have several licenses of Pluralsight and eCloud Guru, all of these tools which helps you to upskill yourself, and obviously the AWS immersion days, which we work through with working with our AWS TAM. So these are the motivation for them to upskill their. There are people who have data center mind, like somebody just talked about. There are people who just came with an application development background, have no clue on the cloud side. So providing the rotational opportunity, providing the training and development support, actually help these people to work with us for longer. We have, I proudly say that we could able to retain many of our senior software engineers just because of following the strategy of training and development and the new tech stack. So that is the motivation we have.
Got it.
And we focus on rotational opportunity. So we have our DBAs move from the DBA skill only to the database on the cloud, and from there to the cloud migration, and then becomes a cloud engineer, full-fledged cloud engineer. So the motivation for that person is being a old skill person to a completely a new tech skill person within the same organization with all the support from the organization. So that is how we can retain. We have retained people, and we have lost people also because we have trained them so much that they are now they can market themselves outside, and we lost them. But that is always going to be happening.
Got it. Sonal, coming from a learning and development background and leading this function for such a large organization, I would like to hear your thoughts. Now, there would be various maturity levels within an organization, right? We can't spray everybody with the same brush. There would be certain teams or departments which probably would be, say, born in cloud in true sense. And there would be teams which would be probably taking the baby steps. As a learning and development leader, would like to share your thoughts. What kind of strategies you build to ensure that everybody's taken along together and you have curated programs for the maturity levels which your organization have overall?
Right. So at MasterCard we have a complex structure, but it actually helps the learning and development team to kind of figure out exactly what is required. So we have something called as tech hubs, we have something called as guilds, and we have something called as business units. At the beginning of the year, we ensure that we are getting everybody in line and understanding what are the strategic priorities that they want to set. And mostly all of them, kind of are aligned. And we ensure that we pick up strategic priority areas. So generally, L&D folks who are sitting in the room would agree that when we go for needs analysis, primarily what happens is that you get a laundry list of 800 and 900 programs. Do we agree? I mean, that's the first list that we get. But increasingly, you would see that, the way the L&D department or the capability development departments are working is, please give us your top 5 priorities, and that top 5 priorities also has to be aligned across these stakeholders, and then we pick up, also we define as to what is going to be the strategic priority, what is going to be measured, and what is not going to be measured, right? Because not everything that you actually deliver will be measured. Second is, there are a couple of things that we have done in terms of, one, we are hiring for the skills required, but we are not hiring for the jobs or the open positions. That is one shift that TA has been told to do. Second one is combination of teams that we have. Also, there is a pragmatic balance of engineers with different talents. So the proper amalgamation of all these folks and having the right combination, 30% of experts, 50% of probably proficient people, and maybe 20% of people who are just entering into that particular journey, as you rightly said, because not everybody is going to be expert. So that combination is very strictly looked at, especially when it comes to the cloud-related stuff. And last but not the least, we would have heard about distinguished engineers or fellow architects kind of programs. At MasterCard, we are actually embarking onto a journey of creating something called as distinguished cloud specialist. And they will have their own journeys, for which we are creating journey maps. And as we all know, cloud, when it comes at transformational cloud-related capabilities that we're looking at, primarily it will be the operating models. Then it will be related to security and risk-related stuff. It will be related to the architectures and services, and finally the optimization. So these 4 elements are picked up as a learning journey, and they are created and converted into learning journey maps. Every single person, depending upon what kind of background experience that you hold. There is a cross-functional teams that come together. There would be engineers, there would be product specialists, there would be SRE kind of reliability engineers as a part of this team, and combination of that is looked at. So the very focused effort that has been put in order to ensure that right teams are formulated, right skills are given, right learning journey maps are created, and then the programs are built.
I'll probably extend this, and maybe I'll request every panelist to spend 1 minute on this extension to what I asked Sonal. So there is this theme evolving, right, which is building a set of future skills in every organization, irrespective of industries actually. And if I were to further break it up, it's a set of core skills and critical skills. And I'll start with you, Milind. This all kind of drills down to working backwards with looking at your North Star for the next, say, 4 to 6 quarters, and then working backwards to look at mapping these skills. Maybe a quick 1-minute response. How do you look at this, and what kind of mechanisms you have within Route Mobile?
So, I think this I would not answer from a Route Mobile perspective, as everybody follows a different strategy. I'll try and give a general holistic based on my experience, right? I think I just want to do a quick show of hands here. How many of us has tried to hire a person who in the job interview says, I want to be hired because I want to do a bad job? Anybody? Everybody of us in our careers have said, I wake up in the morning and today I'll put my best foot forward and I'll do a good job, right? Then 9:30, 10, he reaches office and he gets bogged down by pressures, politics, and deliveries and timelines and salary and the 3-hour commute of Bangalore or Bombay and so on and so forth, and the energy level goes down, right? So I have an antithesis to hiring. So my antithesis to hiring is, I have always used culture as my bedrock of hiring. I've always, at an individual level, hired for culture in any organization that I work for. And I'll give a classic example of this. Almost 17, 18 years ago, I used to, at any level, so in those days we were at the cutting edge of technology within telecom space. And the one core cultural skill that we needed in people was relentless problem solving. I gave only one exercise and I built an organization of almost 150 people. If I look at 1 in 10, I must have interviewed about 1,500 odd people to select 150 people during my 5-year stint in that organization. One example I gave to all of them, and that was a 1 minute, is I would give a Lego block, I'll give a picture and say, in 1 minute you have to solve this Lego puzzle. The only criteria of moving that guy from a Lego puzzle to a proper interview was, if he has a remorse to say, Kash, mere ko आधा minute और मिल जाता, I would have solved it. Only that guy moved to the next level. Because he showed in that 1 minute willingness to try and solve a problem. That's it. That was the only point. we forgot skill, we forgot his experience, we forgot his education qualification, whether he's IIT, whether it is whatever, it doesn't matter, right? Did he demonstrate that? And believe you me, I can count number of people who went like that. Second classical point that we said is, tell us 10 seconds, what do you do? Tell us 1 minute or half a minute about what is you. We deselected people who gave their career profiles. If a person believes that he represents his 10, 5, 2 years of experience and rattles, I did this, I work in this organization, that guy was a misfit for us. Because we needed people who were anthropologists, we needed people who were problem solvers, we were people who had interests other than this part. And believe you me, it has worked. We built a $100 million organization sitting with 150 people in 2005. Circa 2022, what we do today is, again, we go back to the same point. We hire people who want to solve problems, because again, we are at the cutting edge of communication. Everything else then falls in place, right? If you don't do this, you may get skilled people, you may get alpha males, alpha females, all of that is fine, but you will not solve the problem. I think just one part, hire people for problem solving.
I think the takeaway is aptitude matters more than attitude. Or did I say the reverse? I guess it's the attitude which matters more than the aptitude. That's, I think, very well put, Milind. Thank you for that. Vilas, over to you.
So I'm going to borrow some of these ideas, by the way. I hope there's no copyright on that.
I did not even tell you the name of the organization.
Naveen, like you said, right? The attitude. When attitude is a very broad term, right? You look for people who are hungry to learn. You look for people who are eager to do something that is out of their comfort zone at the end of the day. And these are the people who actually end up rocking the system. They really do a good job. You want people, one thing we take pride upon is complete transparency. I think I was having a conversation with Bhawdish before this meeting. You can tell your boss you're wrong, and your boss will be perfectly okay with it. And maybe it has to do with the fact that there are the company originally was a completely Israeli-based company, and if you know Israelis, I like to describe them as your best friends. When you do a mistake, your friend will tell you on your face, "Tu pagal tha kya?" And they literally convert that. In a professional meeting, they will call you out and say, "Are you crazy? Talking like this?" You would never do that with an American, right? You would say something like, I would do it differently, something like that, right? So that transparency helps us quite a bit, because people are challenging each other in a very healthy environment. You can have your fights, you can shout at each other. 2 minutes later, you will go for a cup of coffee together or go for a beer later that evening. No restriction or no hang-ups of sorts. So we look for people who bring that kind of an energy. And of course, there is a very structured program in terms of how do you onboard them, what do you want, what role are they going to play. And when I say role, not the designation, but the actual influence they are going to have in the team. So that's how we go about it.
Thank you, Vilas. Bhawdish, maybe probably 1 quick minute from you on your perspective as
Yeah, I'll be very specific here. So if you have to hire the cloud engineers, I think we're all talking about cloud.
Yeah.
I would probably prefer a person who has an application development experience and infra experience as well. Cloud, if the basic knowledge is there, the other things I can, have the training opportunity within my organization and upskill that person. But I would focus more on the problem solving and the programming skills.
So in our environment, basically we take care more from the skill, will factors. Basically the matrix of skill and the will kind of thing, where the individual resource should have a cross-functional, cross-domain, cross-area learning, wellness, and those development and adoptions kind of thing. That's what the journey we actually follows on.
Thank you, Saurabh. I think I'll just probably summarize and request everybody to probably refer to YouTube. US Navy SEALs, which is probably one of the most premium courses, they never hire somebody who has never experienced failure in life. Because if you have always been successful at the time in the ground, in the force, you will not know how to behave. So I think I allude to what you said, Milind, very important. I allude to you as well, to what you said. Thank you so much for your time. It was really a pleasure to hear your perspectives. Deepti, if we have time, maybe we can. Yeah. Can I have the mic, please, for the lady?
That gentleman in the middle had a question. He was wanting to talk.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So 3-4 questions, Deepti, you have to give time. Moderate.
Yeah.
Shall I go ahead?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I have just one question now. So I was going through one of the presentation where we are upskilling for the innovation as well, right? How we make the people future ready. So now one of the things, maybe I have a question to Milind sir, to you. Now the digital bill which is coming up, which is mighty digital bill, and you are working with a lot of personal information, right? Till this time we are protecting the data. Now the future is that we need to also use that data lawfully. So how you are looking that is changing your strategy or something? Because you said about the problem solving. This is one of the problem for your organization, I would say.
So I'll just take 10 seconds of a pause. Vishwa sir, could you just please tell what I told you before starting this? Just please, we do a modernization workshop on. The request that I did that we should do for Colombia, right? That we should do a modernization workshop on data itself, right? Yeah. Please. Yeah, I mean then I'll answer it to him. Please.
Yeah, so basically, he exactly talked about the same program like they have the platform. I'm taking the liberty of talking about OSIN, right? There's a platform, and he just came back from Colombia, and they want to build that layer to take care of the data protection and other steps on the interim, and we're planning for a EBA to do that actually.
Correct. So your question is absolutely valid, and it is at the top of our point of view, right? So there are two ways to look at it. One is I go to a big CDP kind of a player and take all the necessary elements and say $1 million of spend on buying it from one of the biggest big daddy of CDP, and use whatever infra and put that servers and put that software and whatever. Take a DBA and play a data dump. Just to give you a perspective so that you understand what I'm talking about, I do 5 billion paid transactions every month, give and take, right? Mind you, when I'm using the word paid, that means it is not a click that you do on the internet which is unpaid for by anybody, right? I do paid transaction. That means a brand or an enterprise pays me for every transaction I do on that, right? Plus it's all mobile and email. So privacy becomes very, very critical, and the volume becomes very, very critical on that, right? So rather than taking $1 million investment, evaluating 5 platforms, it is very easy for me to do a endpoint match with one of their databases on cloud and just do a 3 days quick analysis of the data and say useful, just take a spike of $500,000 on it and quickly turn it around, right? And learn from it and implement it, or as he rightly said in his beginning, either fail fast and fail, don't fail fast and back, fail fast and forward, right? So that's what we do, and we continuously keep on doing that. We picked up in this specific example, I think we were the first EBA on modernization. At a data scale level, we were the first company to do in the communication space EBA for modernization. So I think their teams will be able to help and guide you big time on that part. The second part of your question is policies on data. I think that is a very different topic. It has nothing to do with your infra capability. It is more to do with your security and your capability of how do you put your checks and balances. So whether it is a GDPR in Europe or US, whether it is a HIPAA in US for health protection, or whether the potential, I have not personally read the latest data bill, so I can't comment on it, but general, those fall under your parameters of security policies, and we manage almost, 100, 500,000 banks globally. We run like every quarter there is 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 audits, some bank or other keeps on doing with us. So I think our process on security is very, very watertight. Yeah. So 2 different aspects.
Yeah. So very quickly, I work in oil and gas sector from Quorum, and we are already into a mature transition transformation journey for our customers. We are having a very matured model, and we are also hosted on AWS platform. When I was listening to all the speakers here, especially Sonal ma'am, I would like to understand from you here is that when we say cloud engineer, based on your the older traditional model, we had the skill matrix, right? And now in the cloud engineer, we are looking for a DBA, we are looking for a networking skill, we are looking for a problem solver, we are looking for a whole lot of skill. And I have not really seen a very good career model which I can offer to my team, because I am doing all the, I'm doing the hiring for my team, I'm running these transformation programs, onboarding customers from on-prem to cloud, all those things I'm doing, and I'm doing it for last, 4.5 years. But I don't see a very good career model which I can say, okay, this is the skill and this is how we kind of map it. And that's the maturity which I'm not able to see also across in the industry. What's your view about it?
Yeah, so one thing when we talk about cloud transformation and when we talk about cloud capability building, if you have heard about, primary focus is on the M-shaped skills, where we are saying that, incongruent skill is something which we are focusing on, and they will be in depth. Like if you look at a T-shaped skill, there will be multiple skills, but there will be only one deep skill that a person may hold. But when we talk about cloud, we are actually focusing on building something called as M-shaped skills, which is saying that, okay, you might be a software engineer in the past, but you also have worked in some infrastructure organization, so you have a cloud understanding of it, and then probably a lot of other stuff. So multiple kind of dynamics is what we are looking at. Now, when you talk about a model per se, it is an evolving model. At MasterCard, we are doing something around that, where we are saying that role-based architectural model for cloud engineers, and there will be a set of technology skills that we expect them to know, some at a very high level, some at a deeper level. There are other kind of miscellaneous skills like, the soft skills and the other pieces of it. Product engineering piece, because we are a tech product organization, right? So irrespective of whether you're a cloud engineer or not, you still need to know what kind of products and applications that you are building. And therefore, an overarching understanding about the tech piece of it, the product piece of it, the cloud engineering specific skills, which is multidimensional today, that is something which we have laid out. It is in the draft version, and we are going through some kind of reviews with the help of certain business stakeholders and some external practitioners, and trying to kind of finalize it. We're going to try it out to showcase that, this is something like a competency framework or a model that exists for cloud engineers, and the work is in progress over there. That's what we're looking at.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So, because we mentioned specifically with the context of AWS, just to extend on what Amit said, one of the prerequisites of learning need analysis, which some of the speakers spoke about, is to actually do a mapping with respect to your existing roles and how they transform or map to an AWS role. We can take it offline, we'll talk about it, and then probably that can be taken forward.
Yeah, one question maybe to somebody who said application developer can be trained, upskilled to be a cloud architect, cloud engineer, right? This is from our experience, right? While as a leader, I would love to build that cross-functional capabilities. I don't want to be dependent on one cloud expert. However, if you can share from your experience, maybe the AWS people, the application engineers generally come up with that mindset. I am a developer or an engineer, architect. I don't need to be learning these ops skills, right? Cloud ops. So, do you face the similar situation? Is there any trick to making them learn and grow?
No, absolutely. You are bang on. This is a big challenge. And I myself went through this challenge because I was always I was an application developer managing application development team. And then I took a lateral movement to the infra world, the operations world, like you just said. And then I realized there is a different, this is altogether a different world. So now I'm managing, cloud team, which is, both kind of resources are there. So the best thing what we do here and I have Harshal from my team here, we do a rotational opportunities for these people. So the application developer goes into the support side, but with a low code. Sometimes, application developers will never go into a support model where they only do the support. Low code is basically you do automation, you write scripts, right? So using Python or JSON or whatever it is, but there is application development there also. So the line is blurring between application development and the support world today. And both sides the programming skills is needed. So just to shortcut on the question which you asked is to provide the rotational opportunity. Then you will start, have the building that skills, and that person can then, easily move into the AWS or Azure skills.
There are application and there are infrastructure, and it was completely siloed, right? Then DevOps came into picture and tried to broke those silos, right? Now we are talking about site reliability engineering, bringing in that operational thinking from the application standpoint itself, right? So I think Sonal ma'am talked about MCEP skills. Now people are talking about COMCEP skills, right? You have one expertise horizontal, but multiple vertical skills that should also come across in your full stack skill profile that you want to develop, right? So I think probably more and more application engineers need to learn operations now to become full stack, and the other way around, right? And that's why SRE is so hot in the industry today, right? And hot skill in the industry today, because there are few practitioners who have embraced SRE at this point of time. But I think we are moving in the right direction as an industry. I think that more and more, like what they said, that skill between infrastructure and application is going to be blurred. As an application engineer, as a cloud engineer, I need to have both the skills. Of course, varied degree of experience and expertise.
I think a lot of excitement and a lot of questions. Surely, probably. Oh, yes, no, go ahead, please.
To answer your question, what we did specifically is we made the team owners of the service. We said, look, you're not just developing the service, you're now the owner. You figure out what all you need. And while we did give us a lot of guidance in terms of you need these kind of monitoring, you need this kind of alerting, when they started seeing problems in production, they started immediately figuring out, okay, this is going to make my life miserable if I don't do certain things. And those exercises, that changing that shift mindset, that from you were originally developer and then it's the app support team that is going to take care of the problems, to no, now you are the complete end-to-end owner. What does it mean? And it is not just the technology team, it had to be done from a product team perspective. Why our estimates are now going higher than what it used to be. All of those shift, culture change needs to be done. We specifically drive a DevOps culture behavior within all of the Scrum teams. So that has helped us quite a bit. We can talk offline if you want to know how we implemented some of it.
Thank you so much. I think probably for the final time. Thank you so much.
This question remains unanswered. We can
Yeah, definitely we'll take it over the bar. Request you to please engage with the panelists and with the AWS speakers for further questions. But thank you again for your time. Thank you.